Yeah. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow is the International Yoga Day, and Narendra Modi's word, that is 21st June, since 2015, we are celebrating. Yoga is an invaluable gift of India's ancient tradition, and it is not about exercise, but to discover the sense of oneness with yourself, world, and nature. And it is basically by changing your lifestyle and creating consciousness, it can help in your well-being. Yoga is derived from the Sanskrit word yud, which means to attach, yoke into. It means union of your pure self with God. So it's a union between the body, mind, and spirit. What are the components of the classical Patanjali Yoga? That is the 8 rungs of Patanjali. It has, I will divide it into 4 dimensions. One is the ethical value dimension. That means your moral duties and self-discipline. Then you have got the postures and asanas. That is standing, balancing, twist, vinyasa, restorative exercises. Then you have the breath regulation, especially the pranayama. But the most important one in yoga is the meditation part of it. That comprises of pratyahara, dhyana, and samadhi. Pratyahara or sensory withdrawal is the meditation where you minimize your sensory input into the relaxation exercise. Dharana is a concentration exercise, meaning it's single pointed, but it is effortful. It involves focused attention, and it is object-based. In contrast, dhyana is an effortless meditation. Unbroken flow of attention, open monitoring, object-based or not. Samadhi is not the depth. Samadhi is the integration. You become transcendental and you will reach in a specific realm of self-realization. The focused attention, which I have already told you, the dharanas, concentrative meditation. The object of the focus could be internal or external. You can chant a mantra, you can repeat a word or phrase, you can visualize something, even visualize a body part. You can use the mala beads, you can focus on a sound, or you can even concentrate on your breathing. That's called the samatha meditation. You can concentrate on your open awareness meditation or dhyana. Attention is open and you remain aware of everything that is happening. All experiences are perceived as they happen, but you are not judgmental. You are not concerned. You usually create a state that promotes divergent thinking, disregard of what is happening outside, which helps in the generation of new ideas. This really cultivates your meta-awareness. You are now a new human being with a new thoughts. The non-dual meditation practices reduces one's sense of attachment or control, removing the separation between the observer and the observed in order to achieve experimental insight. This is important into the true nature of consciousness and to connect with a more unified reality underlying our daily experiences. The Vedic, Hindu, Buddhist and Tibetan Buddhist tradition. As you pretty well know, in our Vedic philosophy, you will reach the ultimate, that is your Anandamaya Kosha. It's almost like the Om state or the Ruan state of Buddhism. That is called the consciousness, not the consciousness, because you are in another world. You can have an automatic self-transcendence meditation, and that's called transcendental meditation, where the mind transcends the experience of the subtle state, becomes completely still, and you fully awake and conscious. That is a transcendent state. People will say, are you mindful? You are really mindless, though you are mindful. It is a peculiar state. The loving kindness and compassion meditation, another variety, it has got the behavior and affective patterns using the imagery techniques, and usually it is for the well-being of others. Nowadays, it is a currency in many parts around the world, talking about the mindfulness meditation, bringing one's attention to experience occur in the present moment without judgment. It is based on our Zen, Vipassana, and Tibetan meditation techniques. Now we come to the science of this. What yoga provides, it produces the yogic meditation, regular meditation, exercises, produces experience-induced neuroplasticity. It increases the telomerase activity in the peripheral mononuclear cells, meaning longevity can be. Can use the increased oxytocin level. Basically, your moral affiliation networks will work. It produces an enhanced GABA tone. You will be tranquil without taking the benzodiazepine. And you can have enhanced resilience due to antioxidant and neuroimmune modulatory effect of the yoga. In fact, it will provide you better health, and it is used as an adjuvant in many psychological and psychiatric states. Many of the psychiatric states, whether it is depression, anxiety, even some of the schizophrenia, adopt, even some people use in cognitive rehabilitation as an add-on, especially our friends from NIMHANS. The experts are Professor B.N. Gangadhar, Shivaram Varambali, Urvak Mehta has also worked on the neurobiology. You can go through the article by them in Progress in Brain Research. Mehta, Gangadhar B.N. in Progress in Brain Research in 2019. I mean, they're doing a wonderful job. Now we come to the ethical values. Ethical values of yoga talked about, I talked about moral. Yamas and niyamas, that is moral observance and self-discipline. Yamas are ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, meaning non-violence, truthfulness, not stealing, moderation of senses, and non-greedy attitude. And your niyamas, self-discipline, orders, saucha, that is cleanliness and purification. Modi ji has already talked about your saucha long back. Environmental hygiene, sandosha, contentment, and austerity, self-reflection and study, and later you are a God's son, Ishvara Prani, Ishvara pranidhana, that is surrender to God. These yamas and niyamas, ethical values, involves the moral cognition network in the brain. Moral cognition network really dictates your moral sensitivity, moral reasoning, and moral judgment. There's a beautiful book, Moral Cognition and Moral Emotion, which is published in 2017. Some of you may go through it. The areas involved in moral cognition network are anterior prefrontal cortex, dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, medial orbitofrontal cortex, also the lateral orbitofrontal cortex, anterior temporal lobe, and superior temporal sulcus region. We might be talking sometimes on mirror neurons, that is superior temporal sulcus region. Basically, when you imitate the mirror neuron, especially that is involved when we do even psychotherapy, your mirror neuron mechanism. Now, postures and asanas, the effect of physical exercise in psychiatry and even psychology, and its effects on brain is well known. Aerobic exercise are well known. Similarly, yogic exercises really benefit several domains of cognition and metacognition in youth. It is 2017 article was in press. Now it would have been published. Physical activity on executive function. At that time, Journal of Science and Medicine in Sport, that was in press, but it is published now. The positive effects were found for physical activity on executive function, attention, academic performance in pre-adolescent children. Larger effects are expected for this intervention for regular physical activity over several weeks. So, in children, sports, even school-based yoga exercises, that will really do good for their not only wellness, for better, not only the moral cognition, but also for their executive functioning. Aerobic exercise on hippocampal volume, it has meta-analytic evidence has suggested hippocampus is rather protected. The neuroplasticity is there. It can improve after the exercises. You can go through the article in Neuroimage by Fritz and others. I am talking about all the exercises in aerobic plus yoga. Now coming to the breathing exercise, the common is the pranayama. I am not going to details of the different pranayama techniques because our time is very restricted. It's a diaphragmatic breath control is consciously mediated, but it influences parasympathetic activation. In almost all meditation, there is a parasympathetic overdrive. And after deep pauses, after deep inhalation, would result in excitation of the baroreceptors, that is your stretch receptors in the lungs, providing a feedback to vagal nuclei, facilitating increased vagal tone. Action potentials then travel along the vagus nerve to the lower pons, signaling inspiration. Increased stimulation of baroreceptors may functionally alter some areas of ascending reticulate activating system, thereby suppressing sensory input to the cortex, bringing about a steadying of the mind. Parasympathetic activation will produce rather tranquility. This is the baroreceptors. I think most of us would have learned in our physiology lectures. Higher brain centers, respiratory sinus or middle and bones, the touch receptors in the lungs. Okay, and that will influence the vagus nerve, increase vagal tone, and it will produce a sympathetic overdrive. Now coming to the meditation as such. Now meditation involves many circuits, both bottom up and top down networks. The yoga really involves parasympathetic vagal complex. It involves increased vagal tone. It influences the baroreceptor stimulation. It will strengthen the diaphragm. And you can have the attention orienting and goal setting, improve working memory, attention control, etc., etc. Now, top, it involves, yoga involves central executive network, that is especially the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and posterior parietal cortex. It can involve the default mode network, that is ventromedial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate. Usually, in all yoga, default mode network, this goes down and central executive goes up. And there will be balancing your salience. The equilibrium is maintained wherein your anterior insula and anterior cingulate is there. So not only the central executive, default and salient network are involved. This is the central executive network, default mode network. In meditation, default goes down, central executive goes up, salience is the balancing network. Also involves the frontoparietal network, prefrontal cortex, anterior cingula, inferior intraparietal sulcus, and you can say anterior cingulate and anterior insula. That is the salience network. Now, systematic review of 25 RCTs, effects of yoga on sympathetic nervous system and HPA regulation. Not only parasympathetic, it really produces a balancing act at both dynamic equilibrium of both sympathetic and parasympathetic, but little bit parasympathetic overdrive. Better regulation of sympathetic nervous system and hypothalamic activation, meaning many of our anxiety states, you know that sympathetic activity is very much, so you have to make it down. You have to really put in some parasympathetic overdrive. That produces decrease in depressive and anxious symptoms in a range of population. What about the neuroimaging studies? 8 brain regions consistently altered in meditators. People will ask, which type of meditation? Any type of meditation. Meditation, especially the yoga, the differences, especially if you talk about Iyengar yoga, more concentrate on the physical activity. Some are physical activity, but we are interested in only the concentration, that is your dhyana, dharana, and other concentration meditation. One is the frontopolar cortex, Brodmann's area 10, which is involved in the meta-awareness. So sensory cortices and insula, extroceptive and interoceptive body awareness, especially insula. You know about insula. Many clients will come to you with the somatization symptoms. That really is because of the posterior insular effect. Then it goes to the middle insula. then anterior insula. Hippocampus is involved. I have already demonstrated one of the previous slides. Memory consolidation and reconsolidation. And neuroimaging studies have found changes anterior and mid-cingulate, orbitofrontal cortex. It is basically self and emotional regulation. White matter changes have been documented. That is the connectivity, white fiber tracts, superior longitudinal fasciculus, and corpus callosum in the involvement in the white matter studies. Now, some of the activation and deactivation in 4 major categories of medicine. In focus attention, you will see in focused attention, premotor area, this is a decrease and you can get this insular region. Open monitoring meditation, here you can see this region. Mantra recitation, you are even when you are reciting, even the Broca's area is involved. Now, loving kindness and compassion, you will see the supplementary area and you will see the other areas involved. So the neural signature of all meditation is there is a reduced activity in the default mode network, posterior cingulated medial prefrontal cortex. That is, you are wandering. You usually daydreaming, wandering, because of the default motor. That activity is reduced. And it has been documented. There is increased cortical thickness of insula, medial prefrontal cortex, superior frontal cortex, temporal pole, and middle and inferior temporal cortices. Increased cortical thickness has been demonstrated long back in chronic long-term meditators. Brain regions associated with attention, interoception, and sensory processing were thicker in meditation participants. Especially, you can see the areas insula, the Brodmann's area 9 and 2, somatosensory cortex, and your auditory cortex, apart from your classical prefrontal cortex. So, brain areas involved in both mindfulness meditation consciousness, insular cortex, prefrontal cortex areas, and thalamus. Brief mindfulness training, increase activation in areas involved with the focus of attention, that is dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Left caudate anterior insula. Insula has got anterior insula, mid insula, and posterior insula. Anterior insula involved in attention and corporeal awareness. Decreased activation in default mode network, I have already told you. This is by Damasceno, which has come from the journal Brain and Cognition. You can go through it. Increase in the prefrontal cortex, a decrease in the orbitofrontal and medial prefrontal cortex, area which is a part of default mode network and involved in mentalizing. So we will summarize. Activation in areas in meditation practice, activation of the insula. You can see the insular region, anterior lobe of the insula and posterior lobe. It is activated. Interoception, your empathy, your concern, and the metacognition. You can go through the article in Progress in Brain Research by Brad Mayer. Activation of the pre-supplementary motor area, area 6, involved in complex mental tasks, working memory, attentional control, imagery, and conceptual reasoning. There is an activation of area 32, dorsal anterior cingulate, involved in regulation of attention and emotion, as well as monitoring the performance. Activation also in the frontopolar cortex involved in meta-awareness and metacognitive capacity. Meditation-related anxiety relief was associated with activation of anterior cingulate, ventromedial prefrontal cortex, and anterior insula. Self-awareness, insula, medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate, precuneus. You can see these areas, insula. Attentional control, anterior cingulate, basically. Review of 26 CTs have demonstrated circulating cellular and genomic markers of inflammation, decrease expression of inflammation-related genes, and reduce signaling through pro-inflammatory transcription. And it has come in the journal Brain Behavior Immunity, meaning yoga really helps in neuroimmune modulation. Some people might ask about the EEG, etc. I purposefully didn't want to involve it. Complete literature is there. But whatever is there is elevated alpha and beta oscillation. That is a relaxed alertness. Now, what really happens for psychiatrists, what they talked about it, in meditation, there is an activation of the prefrontal cortex, right side initially. It also activates the anterior cingulate. That produces the right thalamic reticular activation. Reticular nucleus of the thalamus is the only GABAergic nucleus of thalamus. All other nuclei of thalamus are glutamatergic. So when there's thalamic reticular nucleus activated, GABA is generated. That goes to the posterior superior parietal lobe, meaning you get a GABAergic or benzodiazepine effect. Goes to the right hippocampus, right amygdala, then to the right ventromedial thalamus. These are the cartoons, reticular activation, and it goes through the posterior parietal nucleus, amygdala, and hippocampus. In effect, that produces a parasympathetic overdrive. Parasympathetic overdrive will inhibit paragigantonucleus of thalamus and locus coeruleus. When it inhibits locus coeruleus, you will get relaxation. So the right amygdala is activated, ventromedial hypothalamus, parasympathetic system is activated. It inhibits paragigantonucleus and it inhibits locus coeruleus, produces relaxation, that you will get calmness, reduction in heart rate and respiratory rate. Reticular nucleus stimulation. Reticular nucleus is of the thalamus is only GABAergic one. It goes to the posterior superior parietal lobule, that is reticular nucleus of thalamus, goes to posterior superior parietal lobule, increase GABAergic effect, so anxiolytic effect. Prefrontal activation increases glutamate. Glutamate stimulates the release of beta endorphin from the arcuate nucleus. You can see that arcuate nucleus of medial hypothalamus. And this beta endorphin effect is reduced fear, pain, and sense of joy and euphoria. your drop in BP, blood pressure, after the parasympathetic relaxes the baroreceptor. That decreased GABAergic inhibition of supraoptic nucleus of hypothalamus that releases arginine vasopressin. That arginine vasopressin, this is arginine vasopressin, that has got a positive effect, reduce fatigue, improve consolidation of new memories. So neurochemically, your meditation will produce increased arginine vasopressin, increased GABA, increased melatonin, increased serotonin, decreased cortisol, decreased norepinephrine. Less norepinephrine to paraventricular nucleus. Here, it produces decreased CRH and decreased cortisol. It's important in psychiatry. Not only the left side, right side. Left side, posterior superior parietal activation. Left hippocampus. Left amygdala. Lateral hypothalamus. Then innervation to pineal gland and dorsal raphe. Lateral hypothalamic effect on the sympathetic system. Now what will happen? Lateral hypothalamic stimulation results in the alteration in the serotonergic activity because of its connection with the raphe. Increases, this is the lateral hypothalamic, increases serotonin, produces positive effect. Not only that, because of the pineal gland influence, innervation, increased serotonin combined with the lateral hypothalamic innervation of the pineal gland, increased production of melatonin. It produces calmness and decreased pain sensitivity. So anxiolytic effect is because of increased parasympathetic activity, decreased locus coeruleus firing, that is norepinephrine, decreased CRH, endorphin release, arginine vasopressin release, increased GABA. You can go through my own article or Iverson's. An antidepressant effect because of the increased 5-HT, increased dopamine, increased arginine vasopressin, increased melatonin, increased BDNF, increased endorphin release. All antidepressant or mechanism will produce NMDA receptor antagonism, and depression is relieved, especially decreased CRH and cortisol. HPA activation is completely gone down now because of the exercise. Rarely you can get a mystical state, out of body experience, time and space distortion. It is because heightened activation produces 5-methoxy dimethyltryptamine. It is toxic, it can produce out of body experience. Rarely, from the people who have gone to meditation, very strong meditation, deep meditation, would have come to you with psychotic state. Why do they develop? Because continuous meditation can activate the cortical 5-HT2 receptors. Not only that, 5-methoxy dimethyltryptamine accumulation, and some people, it will increase in dopamine. And just before glutamate, there's something called N-acetyl-aspartyl glutamate, that's called NAG. When it is accumulated, it is toxic. So, psychotic states are because of cortical 5-HT activation. That is why in meditators you will see visual hallucination. 5-HT inhibits lateral geniculate nucleus, so reduce visual information transfer. That's why visual hallucination. Also, reticular inhibition of lateral geniculate nucleus. I think time is up. It is a overview. I know the people who are working on this in NIMHANS, my friend Padma Shri B.N. Gangadhar, Shivaram Varamballi, Urvat Mehta, and the team. They are doing a wonderful survey work, and I'm very much thankful to them. Whether they are attending or not, I don't know. And Smita Deshpande from Delhi, she is doing some work, especially in schizophrenia, yoga, meditation. I don't know whether she is attending here. And my friend Arun Ravindran from Canada had done all systematic reviews and combined the adjoint role of yoga, depression, anxiety, etc. And he has written one or two, more than 2 reviews. And the critique on whatever the yoga, what is needed, the advances in psychiatry by WPA last year. My chapter is there. What are the lacunae in the research? What are the prospects? How does it happen? That is there in Advanced Psychiatry WPA book last year. Thank you very much.
We have with us Dr. Afzal Javed, sir.
Yeah, and he just talked about where's Afzal? Afzal, is he here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, can I just see you?
Yes.
I am. Yeah. Why don't you speak 2-3 words? Have you heard something?
Well, thank you very much, Mohandas. It's always a pleasure to join you and listen to you. And I must congratulate the Indians, especially the Indian government, for making this day and this sort of celebrating it as a sort of a yoga day. I think as the time is going on, probably the spiritual, religious, and activities and the therapies like yoga are going to be important asset in our psychiatric treatments. And I hope that as time goes on, there is a lot many things that we can learn from our Indian friends, especially about not only about the historical and the cultural importance about therapies like yoga, but also getting into more neurobiology. And as you have described it very comprehensively, that how this particular concept is linked with the scientific basis. And I do hope that we will get some more insight from our Indian colleagues. You mentioned about some friends working from NIMHANS. I'm sure that that will add a lot of value to our knowledge and to our practices in the coming years. And thank you very much for inviting me. And this is really a sort of an exciting moment to listen to you and linking our own concepts, giving some underlying basis of neurobiology. Thank you, Mohandas.
Yeah,
and thank you to Torrent.
Everybody's information, Advanced in Psychiatry WPA book was edited by Afzal Javed and Kostas Fontelukas. Both are my friends, and I have written their critical comments on yoga. Yes, Afzal.
Yes, I mean, this is very important. But as you mentioned that about WPA, we have got a very vibrant section on spirituality and religion and spirituality. And Avdesh is an office bearer from India. I think now the time has come that we should really provide the scientific basis and the scientific justification of this important therapy and exercise and activity to the rest of the world.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, one thing I can sorry for interrupting you, but one thing we can do that in our future WPA congresses, we can always try to organize a course on yoga, and that should be really led by people from India who have got a lot of experience in that.
That's nice. That is nice. Okay, thank you, Afzal. Shamir, yeah, Samir Amanullah has he joined from Canada?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, we have few questions we'll just take up. So there is a question from Dr. N. Pfizer. He asked that apart from the health benefits, are there any harm associated with yoga Sirsasana, Does it increase intraocular pressure and worsen glaucoma or optic neuropathy? Sirsasana has been associated with certain central retinal vein occlusion. Your reflection, sir.
Yeah. For Pfizer, I know that you will ask all these funny questions. But you see, the literature has said how many, what is the evidence regarding that? Evidence regarding that, many people are doing Sirsasana. Those who are experienced in Sirsasana, they won't have it. And if they have got health problems, otherwise, they should not do it. There are some, those people who can do it, who cannot do it, there are restrictions. Otherwise, no problem. Yes. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Second question is from so I think that was the only questions. I request if anybody has a question, you can put it in the chat box, or you can raise the hand. We can ask you to unmute yourself.
No, I got from you half an hour, I mean 1 hour back,
Yeah.
250 questions.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But I could not go through everything.
Right.
But most of things I have covered. Some
Yes, sir.
people wanted neural circuits,
Right.
neural thing, and
Right.
some people have told that whether it is effective in bipolar, evidence is very limited. But
Right.
basically, it is in anxiety and depression. Now,
Right.
schizophrenia, I mean, as an actual, especially is coming. Whether it is useful for cognitive, even social cognition improvement, even advanced studies are coming up. Even Smita Deshpande has done it, some methods. So I think the literature is there. I think as Afzal has suggested, I think Indians, those who are expert on it, they should come forward and have some session with the demonstration. I would request the NIMHANS to
Sir,
come forward. Yes, please.
Yeah, Chiti is there. Yeah.
sir, hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Shruti. I'm actually joining from the UK, and I run a health tech startup which focuses mainly on yoga and mindfulness from with science. In fact, today we ran a yoga day webinar, which was again attended by 800 plus people, where we had one of the biggest child psychiatrists in the UK, who happened to be Indian, by the way. And we also had a psychologist who has integrated yoga and mindfulness practice in a high security prison here. Tomorrow we are partnering with an event with Ministry of Ayush along with WHO initiative. And sir, I was really impressed with your scientific knowledge and credentials. Is there a way that I can reach out to you for further speaking opportunities or further collaboration?
Answer is the best person you contact, B.N. Gangadhar, the director of NIMHANS, and his team, Shivaram Varamballi. They are all my friends. I think I am interested in neurobiology, psychopharmacology concepts. I am basically as a teacher, but they have that research background and they are doing it. I am a poor person, and basically I am engaged in many other activities. Yeah, thank you. You can contact
Perfect, sir.
them.
I'll speak to Dr. Nihal.
Yeah, Dr. Rajesh Rastogi has a question, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent presentation, Imon Das. And I, in fact, compliment Torrent also. Instead of drug, they are promoting yoga. So good job, Chintan. Now, my question is, Mohandas, if suppose any person who has done the yoga for a year or so, and there are neurobiological changes in the body, and if he stops yoga, say for 3 months to 4 months, what will happen to those changes? And what will be the effect, whether it will last or they will revert back?
See, I think suppose you eat biryani today, I think it will really relieve your hunger. But it doesn't mean that you need not eat anything. I think it has to be a regular practice. It is a regular practice for maintaining things. And especially towards elderly age, it's a continuous, regular practice. There is no limit. somebody has asked a question, how long it will take to have a brain changes. Most of the things, it is basically documentation is mainly by the chronic meditation experts, especially minimum 30 to 40 sessions. People could can have changes, but it is a continuous. It is continuous. Regular practice only will produce cortical practice, plasticity. Don't say I have gone for a session for 1 week and nothing has happened to me. I think there is no cookie. There's a cookie. And somebody asked a specific type of yoga, in migraine or something. There is yoga as such is meditation. The principle is very simple. What is important is many people abroad, they talk more importance is given for asanas, basically exercise. It's not. Basically breathing, that is there. Even breathing related exercise, mind, that is called samatha yoga. Others are concentrating, sahaja yoga, concentration. And most of the principle are really on concentration methods. So the pranayama is good, and the vinyasa, you can have the combination, and it is not one thing and not one type of meditation. Everything in brain is, if it produces a default network downplay, increase the central executive going up, and if it produces a parasympathetic overdrive, and to produce a sympathetic parasympathetic dynamic balance, it may increase oxytocin, that means moral affinity, and your empathizing capability will do well. That is basically oxytocin will influence the mirror neuron, etc. I need not talk about mirror neuron now because of the I have already written in Indian neuropsychiatry, mirror neurons and nothing some time back. And Urvak Mehta is another brilliant brain from NIMHANS. He can talk about it also. So any meditation for that, there is no special prescription, this meditation. But mindfulness meditation, everybody is talking, that is why more literature is on that. Okay. Any questions?
Sir, Dr. Ramesh is assistant professor yoga. He wanted to ask a question.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful, informative session.
I cannot see your face. I cannot see your face, sir.
One second, sir. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I see your face.
Are you able to see my?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. Thank you very much for that. I have only one query. So from North Indian side, I'm sorry to say that in specific that there are some saints who is simply doing some sort of activities, and they also practicing meditation, this and that. So because of this practicing meditation, like overdoing or practicing much, they acted like this or something. What happened to them? They are not consciousness. They're not listening to us. When we talk something, they are also talking in some other way. So what they try to mean, because of it kind of a side effect because of yoga or something, that is what I try to mean.
I have already told you, explained also the mechanism. Some of the people after deep meditation can have mystical states and even psychotic features, just like psychiatric patients, where explanation, how I have already explained. Okay. But basically, some people are already psychiatric patients, they can misbehave. Okay. The third one, prayers or yoga or something, it is whether you want to have a branded product or whether you want a Chinese product, that is up to you. Okay. So better to go to the right places, training under the right person, okay, the right methods, right duration. I think that is beneficial.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next question is from Dr. Usha Nandini. She has talked about antidepressant anxiolytic effect because of medication. but meditation causes psychotic features. So how do we know the optimum level of meditation, and how to know when it is too much of meditation?
Yeah. In Malayalam, there is a saying, Amitamaya Amardam Visham. That means too much of everything, it is, even if it is Amrta, it is toxin. So some people who are deep meditators, they will not consider continue things. And when they go out of the reality, then psychotics. You cannot prescribe this much. That is why some people say this many sessions, this sessions. But some people, when they do it, we have to say that there is no yardstick that after 5 meditation, 5 sessions, people will go become have mystical states or psychotic states. Majority, they do well. Usually there are some prescribed sessions depending upon the centers, but 1 or 2 is not going to do anything. It has to be, it is not a, basically, it has to be a way of life. It has to be a way of life. It's a part of life. That will augur good. Now, regarding antidepressants, we have a dosing, etc. But in some people, when they develop it, you have to know that whether they have a family history of psychiatric disorders, whether they are already having some psychiatric disorders and drugs, have they withdrawn the drugs, do they have other stress factors, and those people are more prone to have after this. That is very difficult to do it, and we do not have an exact percentage, but it's only very few. Yes. Any other question?
Dr. R.N. Chaurasia, Rameshwarath Chaurasia has asked any particular yoga type that is helpful for migraine patients?
I have already answered. There is no specific as such. Any meditation which is comfortable for the client, I think that will be good. But the problem is, if you are doing too much concentrating exercise in a migraine patients, it can increase it. So better is to have some relaxation exercise. Somebody has asked, mystical states, are they same as psychotic state? No, mystical state may be a foreigner. It may be a foreigner of psychotic states, but mystical states, after that, it disappears by itself after some time. Mystical states is derealization, depersonalization. After some time, it becomes okay. But sometimes may be a foreigner for psychotic states. Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Raj Kiran has asked, how long does it take for the changes to appear in brain after yoga practice?
I have already told you. Usually after 20 to 30 sessions, there can be changes, but it is documentation is mainly by the chronic meditators.
Yeah,
Chronic meditators, you don't have a time frame, but the research is mainly on chronic meditators. But recently, even the brief meditation, which I have already demonstrated, brief mindfulness meditations, even after 1 or 2 days or 1 week, they have seen subtle changes. But you cannot say predict it. Within 1 week, this will happen. Within 2 weeks, this will happen. Within 1 year, this will happen. We don't know. But any activity, you can have changes. Whether the complete neuroplastic changes, how long it will take. It will take time, but usually after regular meditation, it can change. I mean, it can occur.
Dr. Avdesh is there. He would like to ask a question.
Avdesh.
Hi, Mohan.
Yes, where is your face, man?
For some strange reason, I'm not able to start my video.
Why?
I don't know. Some technological problem. If they
anyway,
can solve
I
it.
can see through your words.
Mohan, excellent as usual. I remember all of us learning the basic neurosciences with you and through you. And as Afzal was saying, that suddenly yoga and meditation has picked up, which means that in the general population, sometimes without understanding what it is, and large number of people switching on meditation and stopping medication. That also is becoming a big challenge at this point of time. And I feel that, WPA especially, and now even IPS, can start working with other organizations where they are able to provide meditative practices, and we in the mental health profession can start adding on where their boundaries end, and we should be able to help, and vice versa. That may be the way forward for the community at large, and especially in resource poor situations, which is across the world. It's not only in India, it's everywhere. The number of mental health professionals required are much less. So these kind of things, and especially now with so much of neurobiological explanations coming for yoga and meditation, I think that could be an excellent way forward.
Nowadays, you rightly told, we have to have something called wellness centers, not only a wellness program from even IPS and WP. Okay. Yeah, I had a question. That is dissociative states. I think, Chindan, are you available there? Chindan.
No, sir.
Chindan is here. No, somebody has asked. Chindan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear.
Somebody has asked that what about dissociative seizures? Can you enlighten? Right. I think in one of the future programs, we are going to talk on neuroscience of hysteria, part 1. I will be speaking. So there we can clarify all these things. So that will...
Dr. Samyukta Pai has asked that question.
Yeah. So I will be discussing on neuroscience of hysteria in future. That time I can do everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
There is a question from Dr. Sunil Narayan from JIPMER.
Yes.
His question is it not necessary to standardize protocol for different yoga and meditation so that their value can be validated across population, clinical and EP parameters?
You are absolutely correct. Enhance people are trying, and they have started, I think 2 years or 3 years back. You can contact them, especially they are doing it. They are doing it, but it's very difficult to standardize. I think 1 or 2 things. The problem with this thing in yoga, that is a question which I have asked, especially, is it the exercise really giving benefit? Is it the pranayama, the breathing exercise is good doing it? Or is it the meditation which is going to do it? So we have to really dealing everything, each part, how much contribution, not only easy. So, but Nimhan's people have tried to standardize this thing in a started beginning. They are trying. I think they are the best people, especially my friend BNG and others. Okay.
Next question is from Dr. Kaustubh Bagal.
Yes.
He is asking that, is there any concrete evidence relating yoga and sexual disorders, particularly hyposexual disorders in either sexes?
I think to my knowledge, I cannot answer this. I haven't come across with the literature. He can correspond, discuss with Nimhan's colleagues of mine. They are good at it. Okay. I don't really deal with this case.
Yeah. Dr. Wadhwani is there. Dr. Wadhwani, can you unmute and ask question? Yeah, Dr. Devdas Wadhwani.
Yes. Very nice presentation, sir.
I cannot see you. I cannot see you, sir. Why don't you just put... Yeah. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Yeah.
Sir, are all meditation techniques the same?
The problem is the variation is how you concentrate on exercises. For example, Iyengar yoga, more on very, very, very strict exercise. But what we usually follow in our Indo philosophy, the 8 ranks of Patanjali, and where you focus not only the asanas, but the breathing exercise, but basically on the concentration aspects. But Sahaja Yoga, basically only on concentration. Some people. Samatha Yoga, they usually focus on the breathing and do that. So subtle difference. But the effect net effect is the same. Hello?
Yes, sir. Sir, I am a Vipassana meditator since
Yeah.
2 decades, and
Yeah.
I have tried different type of meditation earlier for nearly 2 decades early to that.
Yeah.
I find differences in almost all types of meditation technique.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when I am a student of Vipassana meditation, I feel it's a complete meditation with concentration and mindfulness both.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Maximum literature is on mindfulness meditation. Maximum. Maximum literature is on mindfulness now.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very thankful for your contribution and your personal experience. Very delighted to see you. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Dr. Pritika Chari is there, a neurologist from Chennai. Ma'am, Dr. Pritika Chari, ma'am, you can ask questions.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
You need to see me, is it?
Yeah. Pranayama for detoxification. Is it?
I just wrote down the question I wanted to ask you actually.
Yeah.
So question is, are mystical
My
state...
understanding of this whole complex thing is that pranayama is for detoxification and boosting immunity. Asanas improve flexibility, strength and endurance in the body, in the physical sense. Meditation improves mental flexibility and efficiency, and it also influences the bodily functions as well.
Yes, yes.
So the union of this whole thing is my understanding of yoga. Is it right or is it?
Yeah, your understanding is not wrong. But exercise can have not only neuroimmune property, exercise has got antioxidant property, for your information. And
yeah, it produces BDNF in the brain also.
Yeah, antioxidant neuroinflammation. Basically, neuroinflammation. Yeah, that is it. Even any exercise, even almost all these conditions, even exercise, meditation, it has got antioxidant property and neuroimmune regulatory effect. And meditation, basically, it will really controls your parasympathetic, sympathetic balance, and it will improve the neuronal plasticity in addition to what is actually to your exercise. Exercise will produce neuroplasticity, and meditation can also produce neuroplasticity. Your spirituality can produce it. I didn't talk about spirituality because one of the topics that I usually speak of many places outside also neurobiology or spirituality, which I didn't really talk here much.
Yeah.
You're correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Satish Raghavan is there. He would like to ask question. Yeah, Dr. Satish.
Oh, sir, it is an excellent presentation, sir. I just want to know about immunity. In COVID times, whether it is useful or there's a time for producing immunity, especially in the COVID times.
Your question is very valid because it is COVID time, and
Exactly.
it is also the webinar epidemic. Okay. And everybody talks on immunity. Almost all herbal products, especially I'm not going to give a lecture on herbal products. That is another talk of mine if somebody wants it. Whether it's what is happening with the Triphala, what is happening, that I will not talk a little bit later. All these things will have antioxidant and neuroimmune regulatory properties. It is already documented. Curcumin and many of our food, cereals, they are all antioxidant neuroimmune regulation. What about COVID? During COVID, I think that is a good prescription for the future for improve your resilience, etc. You can really propagate better to do yoga, exercise. But even it is there, even in COVID, you know that COVID is SMS minimum. That is, for me, it is yes, self-discipline or self-hygiene. That means you are such in ethical values of yoga. Even you are to, because Modiji has already told that even environmental hygiene has to be, because of that non-hygiene you get all infection. So that is already there. And you can do practice not only yoga, you can walk, you can do exercises, and most important, you have to interact with people smilingly. Because yoga or all this meditation will improve your moral cognition, empathy enhancing property. You will try to interact with others lovingly, and you will nurture humility. I think COVID, these type of things you can propagate. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, we have Dr. Kaustubh Bagal. He has asked one more question. His question is related to do you self-practice yoga? And if yes, what is your course of doing it?
Absolutely, very good question. And 20 years back, I had done these courses around it. But nowadays, I don't do it because very much tied up at Arctic, I don't do it. That is the fact. So I cannot answer that. I am a wrong person to answer. I don't regularly do it.
We have Dr. Saji here. Dr. Saji, you can ask your question.
Can I see his face?
Dr. Saji, are you there? Okay, so he has just given his remark. He is from Melbourne and he congratulated.
Oh, he's a friend of mine, Saji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So if anybody would like to ask, you can unmute and you can ask the question. If we have 5 more minutes to go. Dr. Mukesh Jagiwala has given your belated birthday wishes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Where is Mukesh? Can I just
yeah, I'm here.
He has gone?
Yeah, I'm here only. I'm here only.
How are you? Fine. Thank you. Nice meeting you. Because most of the time that you used to be the chairperson. No?
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think there are no more questions. So we just request everyone to join next Saturday for the very exciting session on Generation Z. That is what is happening with our current youth, impulsivity or criminal behavior, by Dr. Mohandas sir. So sir, we officially invite everyone to join next Saturday at the same time, 8 p.m.
Can I just make my concluding remarks?
Yeah, sir. Sure, sir.
Is yoga useful for substance use? Yes, it is an adjuvant. Umpteen articles are there. I didn't go to all details of psychiatry. There are umpteen articles. Somebody has asked. Thank you very much for to have attended this program. I hope that I haven't bored you much. And because of the time frame, I could not go into depth of many areas. You may have some doubts. Otherwise, if there was a board or a pen, a pencil, I would have drawn it and demonstrated. I don't have that freedom now. Now, next week, I hope that that is what is happening with our youth, means currently the new generation. Is it impulsive or criminal behavior? Can we explain what is happening with their brain? Is it because of the parenting problem? Or is it why there is so much conduct disorder? Why there is borderline personality disorder coming up so much? I will critically evaluate it and let us see how, provided you attend, we will share. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
We have Anup Dixit, sir.
Anup.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you very much.